Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official College Basketball 2024 Bubble Watch 1.0, where I give a full breakdown and the big enchilada on the college basketball bubble. I'll probably be doing this once a week with more rapid updates coming in mid-March. But the first thing I do want to look at is just the Joe Lunardi updated bubble. Actually, I believe this was updated 3 days ago. There are a lot of different metrics I'm going to be looking at, including total chances to make the tournament for these bubble teams based on how hard the rest of their schedule is. But you can see the last four byes. That is the quadrant that you want to be in. You do not want to play in a first four game. Although, honestly, a few teams have had success playing in that and kind of using it as momentum. But you can see it is New Mexico, Nebraska, A&M, and Nevada, possibly right around the 11 seed line. The last four in, so these teams would be in the first four games. You do have Butler, Gonzaga, Seton Hall, and Ole Miss. The first four out, so the teams directly on the bubble. The last team in is Ole Miss. The first team out is Providence, also Utah, Cincinnati, and Wake Forest. I will just say right now, Wake Forest is loved analytically, but their record is not the best for the conference that they play in. And then the next four out, these teams certainly at this point still do have a chance to make the tournament. It is Colorado, Villanova, St. John's. Another team with amazing analytics, a lot of losses though, and then Pittsburgh as well in terms of that breakdown. And then there you can see just this is comparing to the net. So the net is a very important thing. You also do have ESPN's BPI, where they already admit and say the BPI, the Basketball Power Index, is going to be taken into account heavily when it comes to deciding who makes the tournament. But this is just based off a net. You can see Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is going to make the tournament. They're 20-6. I know the West Coast Conference is really bad, but I'd be surprised if they left Gonzaga out based on their net, based on their analytics, based on their overall team record. Colorado sitting at a net of 42. Ole Miss all the way down at 68. That could be an issue. That could be a problem. And then Utah at 47, pretty average. But Utah does have 10 losses. That is not a good record for the Pac-12 Conference. 16-10. And Utah is another one of those teams that's very bad away from home. You can see on this list, first four out, Butler, they've got a net of 61. A&M's at 50. A&M's a team that does have a few big wins, but they've also got a lot of quad 3 losses. Oregon, they're 17-8, but they do have a net all the way down at 63. And then Cincinnati in that very tough league, the Big 12, joining it at 16-10. If Cincinnati was not in the Big 12 this year, I think they'd already be in the tournament. They probably have like 5 losses at this point. And then the next four out, you do have Seton Hall sitting at 65th in the net. Wake Forest at 26. So Wake Forest, man, the problem with Wake Forest is the league they're in, the ACC. It's not good at all. Providence at 62 in terms of net, and then Iowa as well. So I would say right now, Gonzaga, to me, you don't want to say they're a lock to get in, but based off the fact that they're in an easier conference, they should, even if they lose to St. Mary's again, I would imagine that they would make it and probably get a bye. And then other teams that I think could be good at this point, honestly, it's really hard to say. There's just a lot of conjumbled mess going on when it comes to the bubble. This is a very good thing to look at. So this is just the bracket matrix. And the key thing to look at is that number. If you see it right next to the composite seed line, you can just see Washington State has the seed line of 7.74. So they're basically right around a 7 seed. But then you can see 105. That's the amount of brackets that are in this current bracket matrix. So Washington State is in every single bracket, obviously. And by the way, Washington State, they're going to be moving up possibly to a 7 or a 6 seed, probably a 6 seed after beating Arizona. What a huge win that was, because they're at the top of the 8 line in this bracket matrix. So they might be a 6 seed at the next update. But you can see they're in every bracket. So there's 105 total brackets. You move down, and you can see a team like Texas, well, someone actually left Texas out of the tournament. They're in 104, but still there's consensus that they're in. Go all the way down to the 11 line, and that's the first team that's in less than 100 brackets. You can see Texas A&M right now appearing in 91 out of 105 brackets. So if you're a Texas A&M fan, you've got to feel fairly confident at this point. 91 out of 105 brackets, it's a little bit over 90, or I guess it's slightly under 90%, I would say, But, you know, you got to feel confident. Gonzaga 79 out of 105. Butler 79. Ole Miss at 72. Seton Hall at 71. All of those teams should feel decent. Grand Canyon losing last night. They're going to drop back. I mean, I'm guessing they're still going to win their league. Don't think they're going to be an 11 seed anymore. And then this is the other thing to look at. So right now, the bubble, it consists mainly of teams like Providence, 57 out of... I mean, Providence is virtually a 50% chance of getting in right now. Now, it's going to change, but right now, they're a 50% chance. Utah is similar at a 50% chance. Cincinnati is on the lower side, at least. According to Bracket Matrix, you do have Wake Forest, who's got a huge weekend game upcoming at home on Saturday. If Wake Forest wins on Saturday, they may move. They're probably going to be in the tournament. They're probably, because their analytics are so good, and their record is 17-9, it's good enough to possibly make the tournament, and that would be a big win for them. Villanova appearing in 12 brackets, so basically 10% of the brackets. Colorado at around 10% as well. And then Iowa and Memphis also just complete outliers there, appearing in a single bracket. Iowa's kind of a weird team. I just don't think Iowa has the record right now, even though the Big Ten is the second best league, I guess you could say. Moving on to the percent chance each team has to make the tournament based off analytics on their current record and their future schedule. How tough is their future schedule? Do the analytics think they're going to win? You can see at this point, Texas, if you look at the in percent, it's based off of Texas, 92%. I would imagine they get in probably as an 8 seed. Nebraska at an 86% chance. Oklahoma, a team that I called a fraud when they were, what were they, 13-0 or something? Or they were like a top 10 team in the country. I said, no, this team's a fraud. And I was proven right. You look at Oklahoma, they're barely hanging on. They're going to make the tournament probably as a 9 seed, though. You could see, I mean, the analytics love Wake Forest. There's no doubt about it, and it's predicting it forward, so they give Wake Forest an 83% chance to make the tournament. You know, do I agree with that? I think it's a little bit lower at this point, but I do like Wake Forest. Northwestern should be in relatively easily. They handled business last night against Michigan. Boy, what a bad year for Michigan. Both Michigan and Ohio State. South Carolina, I would expect them to make it in an 8v9 game. Maybe they make it as a 10 seed unless they completely fall off. They're around an 80% chance. Virginia is a team that kind of has a dicey schedule. They still face both Duke and North Carolina. I don't know if Virginia's going to make the tournament. They just got destroyed by Virginia Tech, and it killed their analytics. Right now, they're around a 64% chance. Villanova's at about a 63% chance. And then you can see Utah is a complete 50-50 at this point. Seton Hall is a 50-50. Providence is a 50-50. Those are your three 50-50 teams. Utah, Seton Hall, Providence right now. 2 teams out of the Big East. Butler's also sitting there at around a 30% chance. St. John's, because the analytics love them, around a 30% chance. St. John's is just no margin for error. It's just not one of those bubbles where a team that has like a gross record, like where they're 4 games above 500, gets in. It's a little bit of a stronger bubble this year, at least in terms of overall record in comparison to some of the other years. You do have Cincinnati with around a 28% chance. Colorado in the hunt as well, 24% chance. They've got A&M at a 21% chance, probably based off of a tough end of the season schedule, I would guess, because there's a lot of other, places that like A&M to make the tournament. Virginia Tech, they're at under a 20% chance. Iowa, they've got a shot at around a 16% chance. Oregon is around 15%. And then you can see under 10% chance. Pittsburgh hanging on. Ole Miss, probably a tough schedule at around a 5% chance. Xavier, Washington, 3% chance. UCLA, it has them, this is just based off of them possibly somehow winning the Pac-12. If you look at the auto percent chance, there's no way UCLA makes it in as an at-large. They would just win their conference, and the Pac-12 is so bad that UCLA actually has a chance to win the league analytically. And then Minnesota, they did beat Ohio State last night. Minnesota did. And Minnesota's record is not terrible, but their analytics are not good at all. They, you can see, have a 2% chance. I guess you could say they're slightly in the hunt, but I would not consider them a bubble team just yet. And then taking a look at this comparison, so you can see the teams in the tournament. They've got Providence in this field as a 10 seed. They've got Texas. Wow, Providence above Texas. That's interesting. New Mexico, Virginia in solidly as a 10 seed. The 11 seeds that don't have to play in the play-in game. Butler and Indiana State. So Indiana State, not a Power 6, possibly getting in. We saw the bracket matrix had Grand Canyon as an 11 seed. And then the final teams, the teams playing in the first 4, you do have Seton Hall, Gonzaga. Gonzaga's top 20 in terms of analytics. Villanova and Utah just barely making it. And the teams slightly on the outside, it is Colorado. Analytically, they are very good. Ole Miss, 86th analytically. Ouch. Wake Forest is top 20. Oregon, Iowa, A&M, Drake, and St. John's. Yeah, I'm guessing Drake is going to be your prototypical NIT 1 seed where they have a good season, but they're probably not going to win their conference. It'll be interesting to see if Indiana State loses to Drake in the conference championship game. Could Indiana State... Well, the problem for Indiana State was that upset loss that they suffered recently. Same thing with Grand Canyon, but if Indiana State went into their conference championship game like 28-3 or whatever it was, because they were supposed to win out and then they lost a game, I do wonder if Indiana State maybe would have been on the 8 line or the 7 line. If they lose that, they probably still make the tournament, and then obviously Drake would make it as well, getting the auto bid from that conference. But either way, that is just the updated look at everything when it comes to the bubble with full percent chances, things like that. But guys, that is going to do it for this update. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.